Welcome, everyone! Thanks for once again joining the swarm on our journey to a more sustainable future. It's getting warmer, the sun is finally playing nice, and that means some vacation time is just around the corner. Who doesn't love a sneaky long getaway? Or, even better, a longer jaunt someplace new and exciting? The good news is that there are sustainable ways to travel for domestic trips and even internationally. You just need a little more time, both in planning and executing your trip. You will also need to realize that everywhere on Earth isn't necessarily a travel destination, or at least it shouldn't be. There really should be some properly untouched and therefore undamaged corners of this beautiful planet. It's important to know that sustainable travel actually doesn't only refer to being environmentally aware. There are 3 pillars to sustainability. Here's how they apply specifically to travel. The environmental pillar, reducing your negative impact in regards to wildlife and the environment. We need to protect and respect our surroundings. The social pillar, reducing the negative impact of your travel on the local people's culture and way of life. And the economic pillar, ensuring that the tourist dollar you spend remains in the local area. We can apply these principles whether we travel within or outside of the US, and we also shouldn't underestimate domestic travel. This is a big country with lots to offer. So, the easiest way to travel sustainably is to not venture very far. Maybe consider staying local. Why not try a staycation? You may actually be quite surprised by how short the distance need be to open up new and exciting possibilities. Sometimes we just get so involved in our daily lives that we don't look up and notice the loveliest things in our own backyards. So spend some time researching your locale. I guarantee something you find will surprise you and intrigue you. If you do want to travel outside your local area, it's time to decide on mode of transport. It's worth remembering that the biggest carbon emissions from a plane happen during takeoff. So ask yourself if the distance is really worth the flight, or could you drive or use public transport instead? Take into account that there would be no charge for baggage, you can travel more easily as a group, and with a more flexible itinerary. Then we hope you'll take into account the carbon emissions too. For a San Francisco to Los Angeles return trip, flying will emit 1,498 pounds of CO2 into the atmosphere per passenger. That same drive will produce 775 pounds of CO2. Traveling by train to enjoy the view and chill out, you will emit only 238 pounds of CO2, and the bus journey comes in at only 99 pounds of CO2. Check out the Lonely Planet link in the video description for great information on methods of traveling within the US, including various train and bus companies. Just because you're on vacation doesn't mean you forget all the rules you implement at home for being aware of your carbon footprint. Be mindful of using excessive heating and cooling. Try out the public transport system or hire a push bike instead of a car. Do some hand washing and line drying instead of using the machines, and pop your souvenirs and gifts in your reusable tote. Don't forget to pack it. And say no to plastic at every possible opportunity. That includes not using or taking with you the mini toiletries from the hotel bathroom. For international destinations, the travel options are, of course, air or sea. If you're flying, stick to economy class. Not only does that give you more cash to spend at your destination to help keep the social and economic pillars upright, you'll also be responsible for 3 times less CO2 than if you were sitting in business. If you're cruising, you'll be even better off environmentally speaking. The average cruise ship passenger is responsible for 1,660 pounds of CO2 for the duration of their cruise. Compare this to that return flight from San Francisco to Los Angeles, which emits 1,498 pounds of CO2. Taking a cruise ship vacation certainly isn't everyone's cup of tea, but it's good to take these numbers into consideration while you're planning. Perhaps you can even add a leg of cruising instead of flying to help reduce your overall vacation carbon footprint. Your next actions to fulfill the aim of the environmental pillar are simple things, like taking your litter with you, packing your own reusable containers for foods and drinks, using water respectfully, eating less meat while you're dining out, and using public transport to get there. To address the social pillar, actions which you can commit to include supporting community tourism projects and NGOs, and always being aware of and avoiding situations where you think employees are not being paid fairly. Lastly, remember the economic pillar. Support local businesses rather than those with foreign parent companies. Make sure your accommodation is locally owned and operated, and buy gifts and souvenirs at local markets where the goods were actually made. There are plenty of other ways you can be mindful of your impact. Some of them are quite complex, like unpacking the ins and outs of voluntourism, and we will be sure to dedicate more time to uncover those guidelines for traveling within the parameters of the 3 sustainability pillars soon. In the meantime, travel safe, travel respectfully, and keep moving towards a more sustainable lifestyle. Thanks again for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe and join the swarm. See you next time.